At last we meet again. Hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope you have all been having a wonderful day or night. Whatever it may be for you. Ignore how jiggly I am. Yes. Welcome to Radio Toku. Tonight we will be reading a series of scary stories. And, well, and the likes. You've been good? That's good to hear, listener. Today, I want you to settle in, sit back, relax, and enjoy the vibes. Yes, I've got a number of stories for you, but before we begin that, I need you to be wary. Are your lights off? Good. Very good. Now then, first things first, there will be sponsors in this stream, but do not take them literally. I am but a mere affiliate of the spirits of these realms I will tell you about. Understood? Understood. Okay, well, these stories are all from No Sleep, r/No Sleep. I've looked up. You will turn off your lights for this? Very good, listener. Now then, we have the very first story upon us. Allow me to find more fitting music when I read the story. Give me a quick second. Yes. I wanted to get us in the spooky mood because, well, let's be honest, there hasn't been too many scary things so far this season. This Halloween season, yes? But maybe on your end, it's been spooky. Have you run into any crazy things? Has a black cat crossed your path? Well, one of these many things might happen to you soon. Sooner than you'd like, actually. Be careful of those stereotypical hauntings that'll happen to you. And upon this month, yes. We have a listener here saying that 3 black cats have walked past them within this week alone. I wish you well, listener. I wish you well. I cannot bless you, but all I can say to you is, best of luck. Good luck surviving. Do take care of yourself now. It's been nice knowing you, yes. Now then. Let's see. I just closed that. I'm sorry. This video's not turning out as well as I wanted to. But, yes. Let's turn off the lights. Let's settle down. This very first story is called Give me a second. Where did I put it? Here we are. This story is called Don't Let Them In. I don't know how many of you have heard of this story. This story is 7 years old. Written by Coney Island Queen. I feel like I've read this before. Give me a second. Hold on. I don't want to reread something I read from last year. Alright? Okay. Here goes. I can't even read today. Okay. I did read this last year. Apologies, everyone. Apologies. I skimmed through the story, and I did indeed read through this exact story last year. Let me see through another one. My son's camera monitor alerted in the middle of the night. I checked it and saw my wife and son sitting on the bed. They weren't my wife and son. That's quite the story, but this was also written 7 years ago. It might be a funny story, it might be a scary story. This is the first time I've heard this story. This one was written by someone called Rising Mac. That's their account on Reddit. I'm not gonna go off any more than that. Okay. I'm a nurse and I'm currently working nights. It's a total drag, but I'm hopeful I can go 2 days soon, since some more co-workers are planning retirements. Anyway, I was working one night when just after 3 a.m., my son's monitor alerted me to sound and movement. No big deal at all. He probably coughed loudly or sneezed or something. He's 3 now, so he generally sleeps all night. I bring it up on my phone and I see him and my wife sitting on the bed. Again, no big deal. He might have cried out or gotten scared or something. I was about to close the app when I noticed they were acting strange. Almost creepy. When I say almost creepy, I mean creepy as balls. Are balls creepy? They were sitting on the bed together, both of them, just staring up at the camera with blank, emotionless stares. The night vision is black and white, so they had white, eerie-looking eyes. They didn't move at all, aside from their visual breathing. They just sat there staring at the camera. I closed the app and gave my wife a call to make sure everything's okay. I never got to call home on lunch, so in a way, this is kind of nice getting to talk to my family while I work. It rings a couple of times before she answers with a very groggy, "Hello?" It was like she was dead asleep when I called, and she looked wide awake when on the camera. "Hey, you guys okay?" "Huh? Yeah, buddy." My son's nickname. Came in like 15 minutes ago. Seemed scared, so I said he could sleep with Mama. I'm confused when I saw them in his room a minute ago. Literally 60 seconds had passed since I closed the app and made the call. Wait. So are you guys in the bed? Yeah. I fell back asleep right away. Everything okay? Everybody keeps waking me up. He's kind of annoyed. Hang on a sec. I put it on speaker and bring up the app, hoping I don't see it. When the app loads, I get that pang of intense nervousness in my stomach I haven't had in a long time. Since I was a kid in school, I realized while I was eating breakfast, a paper or something was due that day, and I hadn't done it. I've had those feelings. My heart leaps into my throat. My wife and son are sitting on his bed looking up at the camera. Same emotionless stares. Hello? You guys are in bed, right? Yeah. We're trying to sleep. Well, I'm looking at his camera, and I see you two sitting on his bed. Huh? No, we're in our bed. I know that's what you mean, but I'm looking at his bed, and you two are in there. Hang on, she says. He's quiet for a sec, while she brings up the camera on her phone. I hear this guttural, terrified gasp, like she had sucked all the air in the room into her lungs, filling them to capacity. I don't hear this kind of gasp from my wife often. Usually only when she's truly afraid, like during a jump scare in a movie, or one time when we turned her back on her son for literally a second. He was down by the mailbox inches from the road. I hear rustling of sheets and the line goes dead. Of course, now I'm absolutely terrified, so I call immediately call back. It goes to voicemail, so I call again. I call again and again with no answer. Finally, after about 4 minutes, she calls me. I tell you, that 4 minutes felt like 40 years. Hey, what's happening? I ask. She's absolutely hysterical and crying. I can't understand a word she says. Stop! Slow down for a second, I say. She slows down enough to explain they are in a car and driving to her parents. She looked at the camera, and when she said she saw what was on it, she got up and grabbed her son and rushed downstairs and out the door. Didn't even close the garage. Don't worry about it, I said. I'll drive by when I get off and close it. We live in a generally safe area, a safe neighborhood, so I'm not too concerned the door is up. You will not go in there, he says. Hell no, I return. Why are we on the camera? She asked. Is it a recording? I don't know, I return. I'm gonna keep watching it and see if there's anything I can tell. Do our code works with Buddy? Do our code words work with... Do our code words with Buddy? You would leave in an instant, viewer? Listener? I would also leave in an instant. Yes. We have code words because we're nerds. We've seen too many pod people in imposter movies, so we decided a long time ago to make code words with each other, to be able to tell if one of us was an imposter. We have a couple code words, but we also have a 3-sentence story we recite together, each saying a different part alternately of each other. I hear her on the phone saying the things we taught our son. He giggles as he says them. He does every time we practice, since he thinks they're a joke and doesn't have an idea of the real meaning. We're both convinced he's our son. My wife then says our part, and I'm convinced she's her. We made up these words as a complete joke to ourselves. I never once imagined in my life we'd actually need them. Unreal. She got to her parents safely, and it was hard to hang up. I told her we'll figure it out in the morning. Hopefully, just a glitch. She said she didn't think it was a glitch. When she was running out, she had to stop by her son's room, and the door was open. There's a little flashing light on the back of the camera that indicates it's connected to the internet. It gives off just enough light when she ran by. She thought she saw, out of the corner of her eye, a shadowy outline of what could have been an adult sitting on her son's bed. It sends chills down my spine to think about. Knowing they were safe and out of the house is the only thing that kept me at work that night. It was a long 4 hours, but I kept checking the camera every chance I got. Sure enough, they were still sitting on the bed, staring up at the camera with emotionless gazes. I studied them to see if I could see any pattern from their breathing to their blinking. Their breathing was steady and looked normal. It was their blinking that would tell me that this was some kind of bizarre, time-looped freak accident, video or not. Me too, the listener. Me too. I lost my part. I intently stare at my phone and count the seconds between each blinking, telling myself if this is a loop, then their blinks should be even and occur at the same time each time. There was no pattern to their blinking. It was erratic and random, just as a person blinking should be. The passing hours are what finally sealed the deal that this was not a weird looped video of some kind. My son's window is visible on camera, and I see on camera that it is getting lighter outside his room. His curtains keep out just enough light to prevent the camera from exiting night vision, but lets in just enough to be able to tell the sun is rising. I try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do before I leave work. Calling the police comes to mind, but I talk myself out of it. First of all, what am I supposed to say? Someone is in my house that looks like my wife but isn't? Worse yet, what if they are entities of some kind and the police do go over and it kills them or something. I decided to tell a co-worker about it. He's a firm believer in the paranormal and might have a suggestion. I show him the video and tell him the story. His initial response of, "That's creepy as fuck," doesn't help much, but he says he wants to go over and check it out. You poor fool. You poor soul. He says we should both go see. If not my wife, we'll try and act like my wife. I tell him, absolutely not, and he says we should go to the house even if we don't go in. I agree on that, since I wanted to close the garage. We got to my house and walked around the perimeter first. Not sure if we wanted to accomplish by that, but it felt like something we should do. The curtains were drawn since nobody was there to open them in the morning, so we couldn't see anything. I went to close the garage and suddenly had this overwhelming urge to go inside and investigate it. It was like I just had to know what was going on. So, in we went. We walked through the kitchen towards the foyer where the stairs are. It's so quiet in our house right now, you could hear a feather drop. Forget the pin. We stop at the bottom of the stairs and wait a few seconds. I look at the camera again, and there they are still sitting there. I've never been so scared in my life. My co-worker puts his foot on the first step, and I suddenly say, "Stop!" loudly. Forget this. We're out of here, I tell him. Come on. I start making my way back to the kitchen. You hear a loud creak in the floor from upstairs. It's my son's room. He has a very loud, creaky board right in the middle of his floor that's almost impossible not to step on. My wife and I are still deciding if we ever want to fix it, because it will alert us if he will ever be up to no good when he gets older trying to sneak out or something. Come on! I yell as I motion for him to move his ass. We're out of the house in about 2 seconds. Out in the street, I check my phone. Now, not my son was sitting on the bed. Same blank stare. Not my wife was gone. Holy shit! My coworker says. Now stupid as fuck of us to do. Do not tell my wife we went inside. She would be so ungodly mad if she found out what we did. I use my garage door opener in my car to close the door. Before we leave, I looked at the camera again. Not my wife is back on the bed with not my son. Both staring blankly up at the camera, blinking every few seconds. That was all about 4 days now. Not my wife and not my son are still sitting on the bed, staring up at the camera. They haven't moved a millimeter. We obviously haven't gone back to our house. What do we do? Part 2. And this is about a year later for the author, so I'm sorry it's taken so long. It's been an emotional month. There is a part 2, yes. I feel like I'm losing my mind, or lost it already. I've been in the hospital for 3 weeks. Remember I left off at my wife's parents' house, not sure what the hell to do. My wife and I argued about it. My in-laws said call the priest. I told my wife we were calling the cops, and that's it. The day we finally called the cops would be day 6. Not my family was still sitting on the goddamn bed, staring at the camera. I told the dispatcher they were intruders in my house, leaving out the part where they looked exactly like my family. I told her we were out of the house, but I would meet the police there. I dispatched 2 units. My wife begged me not to go. I told her I had to be there. I had a foolproof plan. I would take her mom's iPhone and FaceTime with my wife while showing police the camera on my phone. They would see this as a fucked up situation and hopefully proceed with caution. My coworker friend said he would come with me as well. My friend and I beat the cops to my house, like most of you mentioned in the comments previously. I was packing heat. I have a concealed carry, so I had my 1911 .45 on me. I was not concerned this would bother the cops, as I was going to inform them of my permit that I was currently carrying. What I wasn't going to tell them was that I had my father-in-law's AR-15, okay buddy, in my trunk. It's almost funny how many of you mentioned that this is going to go in my previous entry. I didn't plan on telling the cops about it because I was not planning on needing it. They would come armed and prepared. They showed up and I let them know I was armed and enacted my plan. I initially told them the story. They looked at each other like I was crazy, and they didn't believe me. I FaceTimed my wife so they could see she was in fact not in the house, despite what our camera was showing. They still didn't seem to believe me, but this did pique their interest. I hung up with my wife and told her I'd call her back as soon as we knew something. So, for now we're sure this isn't a recording. An officer stated, repeating what I said. It's not. The day-night cycle has changed every day. The blinking is erratic and not cylindrical like it was a repeat, I said. I know it's a stupid question, but your wife isn't a twin? The officer asked. I told him no. My friend spoke up. I have an idea. Turn the volume up. I'll go throw a pebble at the window. He went around back while I turned up the volume to max. Okay. I'm tossing. We heard the light tick sound from the outside. The 1 second delay on the camera came in loud and clear enough and through my phone. Not my wife moved at the sound of the pebble hitting the window. The first time I'd actually seen her move, aside from the time she wasn't on the screen. When I initially went inside our house the first day. First day, she turned her head towards the window, just slightly, before turning back to the camera. Okay, so this is live, an officer said. Okay, sir, I need you and your friend to stay outside here. We're going to go in and find out what's going on. Should you ask for more units? I asked hopefully. Not this time. We're going to assess the situation first. They don't appear to be armed, but we're going to be cautious. I opened the garage door for them, and they made their way in towards my kitchen door. They radio dispatched that they were headed in and to stand by. They disappeared into my house. A few seconds after they went in, the camera went out. I wanted to vomit, and I felt like if I put my fingers on my mouth, I'd be able to feel my heart, since I had leapt so far up my throat. Shit! I yelled to my friend. I immediately popped the trunk and got my rifle out and ran into the garage. My friend right behind me. We got in just in time to hear a low guttural howl from upstairs. Demonic sounding almost. Along with raised voices from police, there were several shots. Need backup! Shots He was cut off. Oh my god! My friend howled. He was scared shitless, but so was I. God fucking damn it. I knew it! I said, running up the stairs. My son's room is the first one you come to after getting upstairs. So his wall is also what you see as you walk up the stairs. As I reached the top, I laid into the wall with my rifle. It has a 30-round magazine, but I felt like I fired 100 shots. I fired all over the place, knowing full well the ammo will go through the wall like it was paper. Concentrating on where my son's bed would be, but also near the door and towards the floor, as well in case whatever these things were, not to duck. We heard the shrieks of pain coming from the room, then nothing. Listeners, what do you think the chances are that our narrator here shot the police officers? I wonder. My friend and I paused for a minute before deciding to go in because the camera was still out. We heard a whimpering coming from the room. There's a dead cop in the hallway we had to step over. It was awful, and I'll never be able to unsee it. His head was several feet away from his body and threshold of our guest room. We found the other cop in my son's room right inside the doorway. He had several large holes in his torso, as if he'd been impaled. Exactly what I was afraid would happen had happened. I called the cops, and whatever these things were killed them. When we entered the room, we found the source of the whimpering was not my wife. She was laying on her back on the floor, holding her torso that was bullet-ridden and breathing heavy. The scene was awful. I can hardly put into words how awful it was. I know now, just like I did then. They weren't my family. It shouldn't have been hard. I should have been able to just go in and finish it, but instead, I fell to my knees. Not my wife begged for her life. "I don't want to die, honey," she whispered. "I wanted to have more kids. I can't die now." I looked over to not my son, who had to be dead. He'd taken 2 shots at least in the head, or what was left of it. He had several more in his torso, and 1 or 2 on his legs and arms. If you have kids, seeing their lifeless, bullet-ridden body is a special kind of hell. Again, I knew it wasn't my son, but it was. I was going to be sick. I'd kill my family. I turned back to not my wife. She was acting just like my wife. It even mimicked her anxiety about death that she had in the past year or so. It's not her, man. I forgot my friend was there. It's not her. Shoot it! I know what you guys are thinking. How many times has this happened in the movies and you scream at your TV for the main character to just shoot the imposter because it's not their loved one? I guess movies get it right somehow. I'll never roll my eyes at the character who can't kill an imposter again. "Please don't shoot me," I begged. My hands were shaking as I aimed at it. Why couldn't I do it? I knew this wasn't my wife. "Listen, man," my friend began calmly. "Look at it. Its blood is yellow. It's not your family." Was it yellow? It was. Seeing my family slain was so traumatic, I haven't even noticed their blood wasn't red. I steadied my aim, and not my wife suddenly stopped begging. She began that guttural, terrifying shriek, and something black or gray started to protrude from her mouth, like a tentacle or something, and it fired. At that range, her head was more or less exploded. Whatever these things were, they appeared to be mortal. I was still on my knees, and my friend was out in the hallway, just outside the door. We heard the sounds of approaching police sirens. I forgot one of the cops had gotten a shots fired call over the radio before being killed. It seemed like it had been hours, but it had only been about 5 minutes since the police had gone in. Very xenomorphic, exactly, listener. My friend went downstairs to let the police know what to expect. I stood up and slowly made my way into the hallway. I was lightheaded, and I felt like I was going to be sick. My bedroom is adjacent to my son's. So the doorway is about a foot to the right of my son's doorway. My door was closed, but as I exited my son's room, my door opened. Not me walked out into the hallway, wearing the exact same thing I was at that time. I was shocked in place. I couldn't move, but it did. It walked towards me. Its right arm turned black and morphed into what appeared to be a tentacle. It was wiggling around like a squid or octopus appendage. When he thrust his arm at me, it solidified and impaled me through my abdomen. It then stabbed me in the left leg just above the kneecap. I fell to the ground in pain. The tentacle arm was wiggling again. "Why did you kill my family?" it asked. When I spoke, his voice changed pitch several times. It was my voice, then much deeper, and normal again. It altered several times, saying that one sentence. It moved in closer. The rifle was gone, but I still had my .45. I pulled it out and got a shot off in its right knee. It howled. As Not Me fell to his knee, I fired a couple more shots, getting 2 into its abdomen and left of its rib. I breathed heavily for a few seconds before I used the last of my strength to aim proper and shot Not Me in the face. His blood was also yellow. I lay there bleeding out, thinking this was it for sure. I still had some strength from adrenaline kicking in, so I took my belt off and tried to make a tourniquet for my leg. With my stomach wound, it was hard to give it a good yank to tighten it. I then took my shirt up and balled it up and packed my stomach wound and applied as much pressure as I could. Being a nurse probably saved my life. I passed out, but the measures I took must have kept me alive long enough for EMS to arrive. I heard raised voices and the sound of pounding coming from the stairs before I went out. It was probably a cop, but I felt pressure from somebody trying to keep my wound packed before I went out. I was in and out of consciousness as the EMS arrived along and probably every cop in the city. I was wheeled downstairs and put in an ambulance, but I was being loaded onto the gurney upstairs. I heard cops freaking out, and rightfully so. They had lost 2 brothers, and there were 3 other bodies. Did he kill his brother? Are they twins? Probably referring to Not Me's dead body, or his whole family. Put him on armed guard while at the hospital. He'd probably be getting charged. As I was getting placed into the ambulance, I saw my friend talking to a group of about 10 cops, all listening very intently to what he was saying. I went out again in the ambulance. I woke up in the ER. My wound had been treated. The tentacle hadn't been more than a few inches wide. It was just slightly larger than a large knife. It sewn me up, and I found out I was currently receiving a blood transfusion to do blood loss at my home. My wife had authorized them to do whatever they needed while I was unconscious. He was also extremely pissed when I went in the house. We're okay now, but that's a story for another day. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks as I ended up getting an infection and almost went septic. I needed quite a few antibiotics for the entire 3 weeks. I had cops in my room with questions. After about a week, they released me and no longer had me under armed guard. I told them absolutely everything, not caring if it made sense or not, and thank God my friend had come to me since he was able to corroborate. They wrote that this weird story. Midway through my hospital stay, the suits came to pay me a visit. They were government. I knew right away. They said they were FBI, but I don't know if I believe that. They wanted to talk about not my family. The police chief and the coroner were involved, and it was very hush-hush. They made it clear. This was not to get out to the public. This is where I had to apologize, probably for an anticlimactic ending to this ordeal. I don't know what Not Me and my family were, neither do they. The only thing we know is that they were sentient creatures that looked like us and had yellow blood. I begged the coroner to tell me about the autopsies, but said he wasn't allowed to say. Must have felt bad for me since I received a bouquet of flowers a couple of days later. The card inside an envelope read, "We don't know what they are, but they have the same organs as we do, but in different parts of their body, aside from their brain. But what's red and pink inside us is yellow and green inside them. They're humanoid creatures, but whatever they aren't human. The government thinks they may be extraterrestrial. Destroy this letter ASAP." We had our house professionally cleaned. It was almost Surely a government team, since they contacted us on behalf of the police. We could not find any Google reviews or website for the company online. My wife and I are not going to go back to our house. We would love to burn it down, but there's no way to do that, and avoid suspicion of arson at this point. We'll end up taking a huge loss on the property since everyone in our neighborhood knows there was an incident involving multiple deaths in the house. But I don't know what actually happened. It'll be hard to sell eventually. We're going to move on from here. I told everyone at work it was a home invasion and they bought it. I'll go back to work in a couple of weeks and we'll start looking for a new house. Again, I'm sorry. I never wanted a concrete ending. And you know exactly what the heck those things were. But we just don't know. Well then. There's that one, listeners. Fellow listeners. Now then. Changelings for sure. Absolutely. Listeners, what would you do in such a situation where if you run into a doppelganger of yourself or a loved one, be it friends or family? How would you know? How can you tell? They've copied everything. How would you be able to tell? Such a challenge, right? Oh, doppelgangers. Oh, doppelgangers. Would they think like you if you met your own? I wonder. I wondered, listeners. Now then, our first sponsor for today, I would like you to listen to. Yes. Be purple. Yes, very, very purple. Have you been craving for some very, very nice coffee? Yeah. Well, Itasha Coffee has your back. That's right, Itasha Coffee. Enjoy life on the wild side. Get some Itasha Coffee. And for now, right this instant, they have a limited time flavor. How many of you are into pumpkin spice? Yes, pumpkin spice. Well, I implore you to try some Itasha Coffee. Now then, shall we continue, listeners? Shall we go down this path? I've got at least 2 more stories here. Let's do this. Ah, what a spooky time. Though, I wish these stories were a little more spooky. But, you know. Why, of course. Thank you very much, listeners. Allow me to take a small little break. Enjoy the music. Okay, thank you for that. I hope you've been enjoying this. My name is Toku. You're listening to 97.3 Villain Radio. I'm your host. For those of you tuning in still, or tuning in now, welcome to Toku Radio. This is my time, this is my hour, or 2. I'll be reading scary stories all month long, watching scary things all month long. So, just so you know, yeah. Stay tuned, stay strong, and sit back and relax. Now then, this next story, let's see. Ah, yes. Alright, this one is specifically called Emergency alert. That is all. Now then, listeners, sit down. I've got a story to tell you. Emergency alert. This is not a test. Immediate threat for residents of counties. Be wary of severe winds, lightning, severe rain, flash floods. Residents are advised to stay indoors. Please lock or bar all entryways into your house. Restrain from using devices that emit light or loud noises. Please enter a room with no windows, effective indefinitely. Issued by the National Weather Service. This is the message I was greeted by in the middle of an episode of Big Bang Theory in my living room. Frozen halfway through a forkful of Kraft mac and cheese. I sat bolt upright and turned around to look out the window. The sky, as I thought, was crystal clear. A few clouds, but nothing crazy. No rain, no thunder, nothing. Listener, you might want to be careful there. Confused, I turned off the TV, erasing the alert from the screen. My two dogs came walking over to me, and I patted them on their heads. One of my dogs, the other's brother, was shaking profusely from the buzzing noises that always comes up with the Amber Alerts, and the like. I left them in the living room and walked through my kitchen and onto my front porch. My neighbors, too, were standing outside their house, all looking at the sky in bemusement. An immediate threat? It didn't seem like it. I thought as my phone started buzzing with the same tone. One by one, everyone else's phone started ringing. I should explain, I guess, that I have never experienced a severe weather warning for real. Not once in my life. I suppose it should come as no surprise, seeing as I live in Oregon, of all places. I suppose maybe it was just a mistake. But just as the thought floated across my mind, I heard the siren. The siren of a squad car coming down the street. An officer talked through the speaker. This is not... Oh, I don't even know if I don't have the sound effect. This is not a drill. Please enter your homes immediately. Do not go outside under any circumstances. Never the kind of guy to ignore higher authorities. I entered my house nervously, turned off all the lights on the above ground floors, and took my dogs into my basement with a sleeping bag. Some food, my phone, a charger, some spare batteries, flashlight, and other essentials. Thank you, listener. I called my brother, who lives a couple blocks away, and asked him if he had gotten the message. He had. I considered saying we should stay together to wait out the storm, but then I figured we'd probably get in trouble for that, so I hung up. Got comfortable on my bed, on my sleeping bag, and started browsing Reddit. Eventually, I fell asleep, seeing as how I was under stress and had woken up pretty early. When I woke up, I realized that I still didn't hear any rain. Seriously, nothing at all. More confused than ever, I decided to see if the alert had been called off. I turned on my phone and called my brother again. He went straight to voicemail. So I gave up. I decided to risk it and go upstairs. I had to squeeze between the door and the wall to keep my dogs from following me upstairs, but I won and they stayed in the basement. I walked through my kitchen to the front door and I looked out the window. As part of it, as I squinted to see outside in the dark change, seeing as I was only 2 p.m., judging by my clock, the TV flickered briefly. I looked around it and it flickered again, but this time every device on the ground floor flickered. Thinking little of it, I turned around and looked through the door again. Every house on the block had its lights turned off. Nobody was outside, except one teenage girl. A thin, A short-haired girl wearing what looked like a pillowcase walked unsteadily down the street, very slowly, looking as though she was having some difficulty. I turned around, extremely confused and worried, and got the dog's food bowls, which I had forgotten earlier. When I looked up, one of the houses, the one diagonally across from mine, right next to the house across the street and to the left, had its lights on, and one of its windows broken. I shuddered and rushed back into the basement as the lights flickered intensely. I locked the door to the basement and sat in the old tattered couch that I had brought down here. The basement is where I put everything I didn't have room for, so yeah, it's packed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention something that may be worth noting. I live in a small town. A very small town. Probably with a population of under 500 or less. As a matter of fact, it isn't even on most maps. We may never make any news. We may never have any scandals or anything. This is the first interesting thing that's happened, I think, since Miss lost her dentures to a raccoon. So it's possible this whole thing seems way worse than it is. Call me crazy, but until a few minutes ago, I was thoroughly enjoying myself. I love these scenarios, and my basement is totally secure. So I'm having the time of my life. Well, I was. I decided to turn on my radio. What harm could it do? As long as I didn't turn the volume up too high? I was surprised to find that our local radio station was still up and running. They were talking about the weather. I listened hard for any news that I hadn't heard. There wasn't any. They were just as confused as us. Not wanting to listen to crappy pop music indefinitely, I tuned into another station. This one was one I hadn't heard before. Could you give me the status of county over? No new developments over. Okay. Any fatalities? Over. What part of no new developments do you not understand, Miss Sullen? A squad car will be passing through soon to scan over the area for the target. Over. Any ETA on that? Over. No, not yet. Over. Oh. And any word from HQ Jones? Over. Why are this? No, Miss Sullen. Not yet. Not since 013 first got out. Over. Well, let me know if and when they contact you. Over. At that point, I lost the signal. Well, not really. The connection got so weak that I could barely make anything out. I'll make anything what they were saying. I figured I must have found a police communication channel and been left with no answers whatsoever. This is about 45 minutes ago, as of me writing this now. Guys, I don't know what's going on. Do any of you live near me? You know if you received a warning. I'd say what country I live in and which ones were affected, but I don't know for privacy reasons. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. There is no part 2. Hold on. Okay, there it is. No, we're not doing this one. It's just a bunch of police. I don't want to say this and that over, that over. Okay. Hello everyone. Sorry for the wait. I know a lot of you have been waiting to hear more about my current situation. I have, however, been reading and responding to some of your comments. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I still have access to the police radio channel, but I haven't had good signal since my first attempt. I'll read it, but I won't say over, okay? Officer Jones, you there? I am. Who is this? Officer Sloan, sir. Do you have any intel from HQ? Afraid not. I just got done talking to Miss Sullen and that SOB Kowalski. Any of you ever any word over on your end? Not since the last broadcast, about 45 minutes ago. Last thing I heard was the footage of the wreck. Yeah, suspected as much. How are you holding up, Sloan? Alright, things considering, and you, Jones? Well enough, I'll tell you though. If O13 doesn't return up fast, I might just end up like poor old Officer Brown with my brain scattered on the ceiling. Huh? Kowalski analysis, exactly. Rest his soul. At this point, Jones and Sloan went silent for a good 10 seconds at least. Well, I guess I better get in touch with Kowalski. I put him in charge of examining the wreck footage. Wish me luck. Yes, sir. Sloan disconnects and Jones waits a minute to call Kowalski. Kowalski? This is Jones. Jones, hey, I'm starting to look on the wreck footage. I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary yet, but time will tell. Right. Look, Kowalski, I need you to focus. It is one of the weirdest parts of the whole ordeal. Think about it. A cop crashes into a telephone pole in a deserted road in broad daylight? With all due respect, it might have been an honest mistake. I mean, come on. It's pretty dark out. With the disturbances we were trying to prevent O13 from releasing. Look, we all know O13 is an anomaly. That's nothing new, but I'm telling you, either he found her and she got the upper hand, or, let's just say, I'm not ruling out suicide. Okay. Also, no. Worth noting, the emergency broadcast I received has now been updated to say that emergency services have been suspended indefinitely, and leaving one's house is punishable by law. Also, I took a look at the format of the broadcast and the interface of it. It isn't one I've recognized before. But in my confused state, I have been unable to tell weird, but what hasn't been lately. I've been doing alright as of late, but I'm still paranoid at every sound I hear. As I start writing this, the wind picked up and I can hear rain hitting the roof, getting harder and harder by the minute. Looks like the weather warning wasn't entirely bullshit, huh? I took my dogs up to the shower to do their business, as one of you suggested. I haven't gone upstairs yet, but I have nothing else to report, and I don't want to give you a half-assed update. I'm going to take a gander out the window and document what I see as is, you idiot. Sorry. I just went upstairs, and I think I'll take the box of Samoas down with me when I go back down. Hell, I'll take the Samoas and the Thin Mints. Alright, buddy. I just went to the window. I don't see anything, but the neighbor's window is still very broken. The street is very dark, and all the lights are very off. Now it's raining though. The streets are overflowing with water almost, and there, the first flash of lightning. Thunder came immediately. The storm's right over us, right over our little town. The girl doesn't seem to be outside anymore, but I lost my point. Give me a second, listeners. I keep my eyes open. Weird. After that first lightning strike, the sky's lighting up every few seconds. Like I said, nobody around here, including me, is very informed on severe weather, seeing as it never comes our way. But I'm pretty sure that isn't common. Okay, what the fuck? The neighbor's door just opened. The one with the broken window? Nobody's there though. There must have been a wind. I hope he noticed. Come to think of it, I should give him a call and see how he's doing. We used to talk sometimes, after all. It would be nice to hear from someone going to the same shit. Wait. I can see him. He's lying on the floor. The girl just came to the door. I ducked. Under the window. I ducked under the window. I don't think she saw me. She's walking down the street, and she's just passed my house. I don't know why she really didn't go outside in weather like this. It's in a scenario like this. But whatever, I'm going back into the basement. I called my brother earlier. He hasn't gone upstairs in a while. Good thing too. He said he heard a crash from one of his neighbor's houses a little while earlier, but nothing too loud. Nothing loud enough to cause serious concern. As I'm writing, my dogs look worried. Without them, I'd have lost my mind by now. You guys too. It's nice having people to talk to in a time like this. Maybe they have to go do their business again. It's risky though, seeing as my bathroom is upstairs. I'm going to take them upstairs, but I'll take my phone with me. Alright, we just entered the bathroom. Nothing out of the ordinary. We're done and we're going back downstairs, okay? As I passed, a duck passed down the window. Fuck. I just went to the basement, but as I passed the window, I saw her pass it too, on the other side. I don't think she saw me, but holy fuck. Why is she out there wandering like this? By now, it's crossed my mind multiple times that she is 013. And from this close, that pillowcase looks a bit more like hospital gown-esque. Shit, guys. I'd phone the cops, but I don't even know their numbers. I need to go. Okay, I'm not reading this anymore. I'm not reading this anymore. Let's do this one. How long is this one? Whew! Oh, this is a long one. It's a very SCP type, yeah. If I had known that, I wouldn't have read it. Hello, Gonzo. Hello, listener. How goes it? I hope you've been well. This next one is called My Husband Insists on Keeping This Painting of a Woman. Sit down, listeners, and listen well. When my husband and I first got married and moved in together, we had a few fights. On personal space, on chores, and on decor. Namely, my husband insisted on keeping this weird painting of a woman. Who is she? I'd asked when I first saw it, leaned against a mountain of moving boxes. Dunno, got it at a rummage sale. It was an oil paint. It was an original painting, oil I think. Judging by the way the light reflected off the brushstrokes, it depicted a young woman standing in a dark room, looking over her shoulder at the viewer. She was actually rather beautiful. Blonde hair falling over her shoulders like a waterfall, a white cotton dress, a dainty, heart-shaped face that was somehow haunting rather than cute. It was illuminated brightly, but the room behind her was dark. The contrast in her pose reminded me a little bit of Girl with a Pearl Earring, but it didn't feel classy or pensive or beautiful. Instead, it felt creepy. Especially because my husband insisted on hanging it above our bed. I mean, it's a beautiful painting, I said, but it just doesn't fit with the modern decor. Neither do your Funko Pops. Okay, but they're small. This painting is enormous for Pete's sake. A woman is nearly life-sized. I want to keep her where she is. It seemed like a big deal to him, so I dropped it. But it wasn't easy. Sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night with the horrible feeling I was being watched. And I look up and see her haunting gray eyes staring down at me. I didn't get much sleep after that. And there was the one time I swear she moved. Was her hand always like that? I asked Eric after getting into bed one night. her left hand. The fingers are kind of open, reaching up behind her, like she's waiting for someone to grab her hand. Yeah, she was always like that. I could have sworn she wasn't always like that. Then again, I generally avoided looking at the painting. It was so uncomfortably realistic. When I stared into those gray eyes, I felt almost like I was making eye contact with the person. It lasted 2 weeks. Then I begged Eric to remove it. Can we please move the painting somewhere else? I really hate looking at it when I'm going to sleep. It's the nicest piece of art we have. It belongs above the bed. What about the sunflower one? That's just a print, he complained, and it's so basic. Come on, I'll move my Funko Pops out if you move the painting out. He heaved a long sigh. Fine, I'll move her. That was another thing. He often referred to the painting as her. It was weird. I moved it to the stairs, but honestly, that was worse. Every time I went downstairs, there she was, staring at me, from above the landing with those piercing gray eyes. At least when the painting was in the room, I was usually asleep or facing the opposite direction. I hit my breaking point a few days after that. For some reason, I couldn't sleep. After tossing and turning for an hour, I decided to grab a snack downstairs. Got to the top of the stairs, and there she was. I hadn't turned on the main lights, only the night light in the hall bathroom was on. With everything so dark, the background of the painting melted into the shadows, but the woman still stood out, with her pale face and white dress. And my stupid, sleepy brain interpreted it as an actual person standing there. I jumped out of a foot in the air, and I would have fallen all the way down the stairs had I not caught the banister at the last second. Can we please get rid of that painting? I asked the next morning. Eric turned away from the stove, set the spatula down. Why? Last night, it scared the frick out of me, and nearly fell down the stairs. He stared at me, as if unable to understand. She? Scared you? He asked slowly. Well, like it startled me. I thought it was actually a person standing there. He looked at me, and he broke into laughter. And after a few seconds, I started laughing too. It was pretty stupid. Now that I thought about it, I know I was sleepy, but still. I thought the painting was a person? What, did I think we were being burglarized by a young, beautiful, blonde woman in a nightdress? But now, I'll move her into my office, and you don't have to look at her at all. That sounds good. And for a while, after that, things were okay. I sort of noticed Eric spending more time in his office than usual. But he also had a deadline for a brief coming up. And what? How would that be related to the painting anyhow, or anyway? Not like he was staring at her for hours on end. Except, that's exactly what I caught him doing. One night, he didn't come downstairs to eat dinner with me. I called up to him a few times. No reply. I went upstairs and walked into his office to find him staring at her. He was just sitting there. His computer closed, no papers on the desk. So of a chair turned towards the woman in the painting. Oh, he said suddenly when I walked in. Then he quickly stood up. I was just about to come down. Just sent in a brief a few minutes ago. I'm really happy with it. He smiled broadly at me, as if nothing were wrong, and then slipped past me. I listened to his footsteps thump down the stairs. Had he actually just finished working? Or was he just sitting in here, staring at her? I ultimately decided not to bring it up. The painting was out of my sight, and that was great. Besides, I had bigger fish to fry, like my own deadlines coming up for an article I haven't even started. But then, On Friday afternoon, I accidentally overheard him on the phone. His voice was muffled through the thick wooden door, but it wasn't hard to hear him. He was shouting almost. the wooden door. I'll have it in by tonight. No, I knew it was due on Wednesday. Well, my wife fell down. That was the scariest part, chat. The listeners. Well, my wife fell downstairs. I had to take her to the hospital. Those words sent a chill through me. I barged in. Why are you lying about me falling down the stairs? His face paled. He ended the call and turned towards me. I'm so sorry, Tara, but I needed an excuse. I missed the deadline on the brief, and it's my job on the line. The brief you told me you finished 2 days ago? He nodded silently. I crossed my arms. Look, Eric, your work is your business, but we spent like all of 1 hour together all week, just because you've been locked in here all day, every day, I mean. Are you working, or just sitting in here, staring at her? His dark eyes locked on mine, and his voice grew soft. You're jealous of her. What? You shouldn't be, Tara, he said, stepping towards me. The painting makes her prettier than she was. I froze, stared at him, and I finally found the words. Are you saying, is this a painting of someone you know? No, he said slowly. Sorry, I misspoke. I meant, whoever this is a portrait of, I'm sure it's a flattering likeliness. All portraits are flattering like that. I stared at him, my heart pounding in my chest. Who is this a painting of, Eric? I told you it's not Eric. I stepped towards him. My legs felt weak, wobbling underneath me. Who is this a painting of? He only shook his head. I couldn't sleep that night. I know, it sounds silly, but being so worked up over a painting. But you have to admit, it was weird. I was obsessed with this thing for whatever reason. Why didn't I see the painting when we were dating? Did he hide it away in the basement? That was the one place I'd never been. He had built a little shrine. Had he built a little shrine down there? Painting, candles, the whole 9 yards? The thought of it made me sick. Is it an ex-girlfriend? An ex-wife even? That he never told me about? Getting a painting commission must have cost a fortune. Especially a huge, detailed one like this. I mean, as much as I hated that thing, it was clearly done by someone incredibly gifted. The glint in those piercing gray eyes, the small dimple on her right cheek. But clearly, he wasn't keeping it to appreciate the artistry. He knew her. And whoever she is, he's obsessed with her. And then I got the craziest idea. I sat up in bed slowly, quietly, turned to Eric. He was fast asleep. Then I slipped out from underneath the covers, grabbed my phone on a nightstand, and tiptoed out of the room. My bare feet padded softly across the hallway as I made my way towards his office. Then I pushed the wooden heavy door open and stepped inside. The office was cold, much colder than our bedroom. Goosebumps pricked up my bare arms, but I didn't waste any time. I reached over, fumbling across the wall, and hit the switch. The light flicked on. A woman stared down at me from the wall. Her eyes seemed to follow me as I took Eric's leather chair and dragged it across the hardwood. Once against the wall, I stepped up onto it. We were staring at each other, face to face. I had never been this close to the painting before. My face inches from hers. This close, I could truly appreciate the detail. Each individual eyelash painstakingly drawn, covering up from its follicles. They had like striations of light and dark gray filling her irises. Her skin, so pale and creamy, dotted with the tiniest of pores. But I wasn't there to appreciate the artwork. I lifted my phone and took a photo. Then I brought up a reverse image search. It took a few minutes for me to find the right website and upload the photo. But when the results loaded, I gasped. I expected one result if I were lucky. The facial recognition. Hold on, chat. Listeners, sorry. That would match the painted face to a photo, or maybe the artist's website would come up and mention who the subject was. But instead, dozens of thumbnails filled the page. The exact same painting I've been staring at for weeks. Fingers trembling, I clicked on the first one. It led to a news article. Search continues for missing Franklin art student. My heart dropped. Little black dots danced in my vision. I collapsed into the chair behind me, trembling, and began to read. Anya Kelsing, 23, went missing after a hike with her boyfriend. The two became separated when they came upon a bear. Her backpack was found roughly a mile from where the sighting occurred, but no trace of Anya was found. In the caption of the painting, Kelsing is a third-year student at Franklin College, majoring in fine arts. She recently completed a self-portrait that was exhibited at Le Cour above. I clicked on the article and the next, but they all said the same thing: hike, bear, disappearance. All of them showed a photo along with her self-portrait. She looked strikingly identical to her painted likeness. None of them mentioned the boyfriend's name. They had to be Eric. The most recent article from 5 years ago was a video clip of her parents begging for her search to continue. Sadly, judging by the news articles, it never did. I didn't know how long I sat there. All I know is that I suddenly jolted from my thoughts when a loud thump in the hallway. Footsteps coming towards the office. I shot up. He can't find me here. I glanced around the room, looking for someplace, any place I could hide, but it was probably too late. Surely he's seen the light on from under the door. I tucked under the desk as he stepped into the room. Tara? I clapped my hand over my mouth, trying to silence my ragged breathing. He's going to see the chair out of place. He knows I'm here. He knows. Tara, are you in here? Why did I hide? I could have just said I came in here because I heard a noise. Needed a pen. Couldn't sleep. Why the fuck did I hide? I was going to know that I know. Tara? But maybe it's fine. Maybe the bear got Anya. Maybe Eric had nothing to do with it. Isn't that more likely than Eric being a murderer? There you are. I looked up and screamed. Eric was crouched there, in front of the desk, staring at me. I was looking at it for a pen. I stuttered lamely. I wanted to write down. I remembered I have to pick up groceries tomorrow and needed to add something. He tilted his head, a small smile on his lips. I don't think that's the truth, Tara. Make a break for it. I just started to lunge out from under the desk. His hand quickly shot out and grabbed my wrist. Hard. You figured out who she is, didn't you? That's the only reason you're hiding from me. I tumbled in his grasp. What did you do to her? He whispered. He let out a dry laugh. So you think I'm a murderer? How nice. How nice that's the first conclusion you jumped to. No, I don't think you're a murderer. I swallowed. Stupid. If he killed her, and he knows you know, then you're dead too. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Just, what happened? They didn't find a body. Did the bear get her? He didn't reply. Just stared at me silently with those cold, dark eyes. I was jealous, I continued desperately. But now I understand. I wish you'd just told me. If there's someone like that, of course you want to keep the painting. All you have left of her. You should have just left it alone, he said, his tone oddly emotionless. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I screamed as he lunged for me. It's over. His hands were clenched on my wrists as he dragged me out from under the desk. I pulled back, trying to wrench myself free, but it was no use. Thump! A loud crash sounded behind us. Eric whipped around, and for a split second, his grip released. I acted instantly, pulling free from him and ran, pivoting around the desk and racing towards the door. As I glanced back, I saw Eric staring at me, but I also saw what made the noise. The painting of Anya had fallen from the wall. It laid askew on the floor, her gray eyes staring emptily upwards. I was always a fast runner. Eric was only halfway down the stairs by the time I was at the bottom. Bursting out into the cold air, I began to scream. He grabbed me from behind and tried to pull me back inside, but it was too late. The lights were flickering on. Our neighbor rushed out of his house dialing 911. It was over. The police arrested Eric for assault, and once I told them my story of his obsession with Anya's painting, they were able to search our house, and hidden in his office drawer, in a small box, a pair of gold earrings. Same earrings Anya had worn on the hike that day. The case is slowly mounting against him. I'm hoping, praying Anya gets justice, and the jury convicts him of her horrible murder. And would he have done the same to me if I hadn't escaped? If Anya's painting hadn't fallen off the wall? There was an explanation, of course. When Eric had moved the painting to his office, he mistakenly installed one of the hangers into pure drywall. The weight of the painting had caused it to rip out and the painting fell. But sometimes, I think Anya was watching over me. That her self-portrait carried a piece of her, and that night she protected me from falling victim to the monster who ended her life. The painting now hangs up in my foyer. Every day I walk by it, the new details pop out at me. The deep, shadowy green of the room behind her, a perfectly painting strand of blonde hair, the glint of her piercing gray eyes, and sometimes I think she's smiling back at me. Well, listeners, what did you think? What did you think of that story? I thought it was rather interesting. Now, you see, I thought the worst, actually. I thought much worse for that painting. You see, listeners, my thought was that he took her skin and bits and pieces of her and turned it into the painting. But it turns out it was a lot more wholesome than that. Maybe I'm the crazy one. But you know, they always say that the scariest monster is us humans. You don't do so go to horror stores? Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be just fine. We've got one more story tonight for tonight's chat, listeners. Sit tight and listen closely. But before I tell you that story, why don't we do another word from our sponsors? And this time, the word being from our sponsor, Waifu Wares. That's right, Waifu Wares. You may be asking yourself, what the hell is Waifu Wares? Well, to your avail, Waifu Wares is... No, of course they sell wares for waifus. Cups, you name it, they've got it. It's all yours. In fact, they're even working on, get this, a card game. I'm not part of it, but should you ever want to support anyone else in that, yeah, I recommend you do it. Waifu Wares. Support your local waifus, including the man himself, John Waifu. Okay. That's a word from our sponsors. Thank you very much, Waifu Wares. Yes, you can use my code down there too. Hydrate, thank you very much.
Drink water, you dehydrated.
Thank you very much, listeners. Wow, what a card to draw. Now, listeners, I want you to know that this radio session, I wanted to do something interesting, you see, but I didn't have anything come in. Let's check. A fellow listener is saying that, here's a word from our fellow listener. A fellow listener named Kaitsu wants to let the world know that a very purple creature is adorable and cute. Thank you very much for those words, Kaitsu. Yes. Okay. Now, here's another one about, a couple. For some reason, a lot of these are about couples, but it's the ones that caught my attention, Yeah. It caught my attention very much so. This next one is called, My Wife Has a Removable Face. I've never glimpsed what lies beneath it, but my best friend has. Now then, hush music. Now then, settle down, listeners. Settle down for one last story of tonight. One final section of this chapter. Amanda told me about it on our third date. We were watching a movie on her couch when I made a move to kiss her. She wrapped her hand in front of my face and blocked me. There's something you need to know, she said. I braced myself. Here it comes. I'm not ready for a relationship. Nothing to do with you, of course. It was the absolute last thing I wanted to hear. Because I was already crazy about her. Okay, I said. I have a removable face. That's a new one. You have a what now? I was about to laugh, but she was wearing a deadly serious expression. I have a removable face. Is that like a metaphor or something? No, my face is literally removable. Look, closely. I lifted her chin and traced her jawline with a finger. You can see the seam. After admiring how beautiful her neck was for a dizzying moment, I leaned in for an inspection. It was very hard to see, but it did look like there was a slightly unnatural transition there from her face to her throat. I grew dizzier as a dozen questions rushed to my brain. Don't bother asking why or how or anything like that, said Samantha. I can't tell you that that's going to be a problem. You should leave now. I'm letting you know this because I like you and want to take the next step. But this is non-negotiable. Okay, I said, unsure of what was happening. Not a problem. So what? You have a removable face. Who cares? It looks good. There's something else. Once a day, usually in the evening, I have to remove the face and disinfect the inside of it. If I don't, it will rot. This takes about an hour, give or take, depending on how my day went. During this time, I must never look at my real face. Never. Do you understand? Yes. Got it. Don't ask about it. Don't look at your real face. Samantha stood up. Now, I'm going to go into the bedroom and clean my face. I'll give you plenty of time to think about what I've told you. If you're here when I'm gone, that's great. I would like that. But if you're gone, I'll understand. She turned and walked into her bedroom. I sat in stunned silence as I heard the bathroom door close. I gave the thing some serious thought. It was possible that it was a joke of some kind. It was possible that it was a delusion. Was it possible that it was true? Well, it certainly was. It was certainly possible to transform an actor's face with movie makeup. So I suppose it was possible that Samantha wore a removable face every day. Maybe she had a horrible accident when her flesh had been mangled. Maybe her face had been melted by acid or burned by fire, or the skin shorn off by heavy machinery. Hello, Shiro. Hello, listener. Hello, listener. I hope you are doing well. If I had, I would never know. Oh, wait. I would never know because she would never tell me, and I would never see it. I pictured a face of raw, naked muscle rotting away. Could I kiss her? If that was what I was kissing? But wasn't that what we all were under the skin? Just muscle and bone and blood and squishy organs. I paced around the living room, running my hand through my hair. I liked Samantha a lot. She was smart and funny and beautiful. But was that beauty real? Did it count? Did it matter if it was real or not? Was I being superficial, even worrying about it? When she came out of the bathroom, I was still there. I looked at her face, she smiled, and I was in love. We dated, moved in together, and we decided to get married. For the most part, it was a completely normal relationship. Typical of two young people in love, building a life together. During the day, it was easy to forget about the face altogether. It looked natural enough, and only in certain positions, in certain lights, was there ever any indication that it wasn't natural. But every night was the same. Samantha would close herself in the bathroom, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 2, and clean the inside of her face. Her curiosity never left me. I would sit there and wonder what was under that face. I came so close to barging in on her a few times, but I never did. I did occasionally ask her about it, about what, if anything, had happened. But how is it possible to make the removable face look so real? About what it really looked like underneath. I tried to coax her into showing me, assuring her that I loved her no matter what, and didn't give a damn about what her real face looked like. I was just curious, that's all. She never showed me or told me the story behind it. She didn't get upset at me unless I was really badgering her. She'd just shrug and say, "You know you can't see it. You know I can't tell you about it." I never told anyone about Samantha's removable face. It's not that she asked me not to, I just didn't think it was anybody's business. Except, I did tell somebody. It was during my bachelor's party. We had rented several cabins in Big Sur and spent the night drinking and packing with our noses with powders that we shouldn't have been packing our noses with. The funny sugar. Everyone else had passed out. The sun, and the sun was creeping up behind us as I stood on the majestic cliffs with my friend Chris, looking down at the Pacific waves crashing against the rocks. Chris was my best friend, as close to a brother as I'd known. We'd grown up together and visited each other at college often, and spent the summers together. After college, we moved to different cities, but we stayed in close contact. Standing there on the cliffs, I told Chris about Samantha's removable face. At first he thought I was joking, and he had 1,000 questions, most of which I couldn't answer. What's underneath? I don't know, man. I don't know. Doesn't that drive you crazy not knowing? I shrugged. Lots of stuff I don't know. I know how to do calculus. I don't know what happens when I die. But dude, she's about to be your wife. And you don't even know what she looks like. I mean, I'd have to take a look. Like, you could set up a camera in the bathroom. That's where she does it, right? Set up a camera and have a look, and then you'll know. I sighed. Yeah, I It drives me crazy. I've asked her a million times, but she told me I could never look. Gotta respect that, man. Even though I don't like it, that's love. Chris laughed. You telling me to respect a woman? Up is down now? And we fell back into talking about old times as a new day dawned. Chris was in town for business last week and planned on spending the week at our house. The conversation at Big Sur had happened 4 years ago, and we hadn't spoken about Samantha's removable face since. Despite keeping in close contact and seeing each other as often as two people transforming into adults in different parts of the country can. It happened on Saturday evening. We were lounging lazily in the backyard, deep into the beer, having just finished with some grilled steaks when I got a text from work. God damn it, I groaned. I have to make a work call. Seriously? Said Samantha, raising an artificial eyebrow. On a Saturday night? My biggest client, baby. Sorry. It is what it is, I guess, said my wife. I'm going to head inside and get cleaned up, Chris. But Chris, are you okay just hanging out for a bit? Chris smiled. I'll be fine. Got my beer. Got some weeds to pull in your garden. God knows your lazy-ass husband isn't going to do it. Those tomatoes are choking to death. It's a tragedy. I rolled my eyes and went into the side yard to make my call. 15 minutes into it, I heard the screams coming from inside. Both my best friend and wife were wailing in terror. I dropped the phone and ran into the house and down the hall to our bedroom. Through the door, I could see that the door to the master bedroom was standing open. Don't come in, screamed Samantha. I don't have my face on. Call an ambulance. He looked. Oh God, he looked. He sounded desperate and truly horrified. That made me desperate and horrified, and I wanted to rush into the bathroom, but I knew suddenly that it would be a mistake. I knew suddenly that Samantha didn't want me to look at her real face, not out of a sense of vanity, but for my own safety. Chris staggered backwards out of the bathroom. He was holding a straightened out paperclip, which he had used to pick the privacy lock. Now he was stabbing it again and again into his eyes, shouting gibberish. He was clearly in the depths of madness and turned my stomach to see him mutilate himself. Call a fucking ambulance, my wife screamed. Don't come in here, he fucking looked. I turned and ran back to the side yard. My phone was lying on the newly mowed grass. My client was on the line, alarmed, asking what was happening, what all the screaming was. I hung up on him and called 911. When the paramedics arrived, Chris was having a seizure in the hallway. Samantha was stroking his head, sobbing. The face was on, but it had been done hastily, and everything looked a little off. My world has been dark this past week. My best friend is in a psychiatric hospital under suicide watch. He's completely blind and mostly catatonic, except when he slips into a violent babbling mania. The doctors are optimistic that his state is temporary, but they don't know the truth of what caused it. Because I told the paramedics that Chris had taken a large dose of psychedelic mushrooms and fallen into psychosis. I saw no good reason to tell the truth about what had happened. Who would believe that one look at my wife's real face would make someone insane? At best, we would be the suspects of a long investigation. At worst, we would have to prove that what we were saying was true by showing somebody Samantha's face. Then the same would happen again. And what after that? I had no idea, and no interest in finding out. For Samantha's part, I knew she would never consent to show anybody her real face, no matter what the consequences of refusal were. I did get a follow-up call from the police, asking me to confirm my story. The hospital found no traces of psilocybin in Chris's blood, though that's not unheard of, since it has a short half-life. If they end up testing his hair, I will likely be in a lot of trouble, but that's surely the least of my concerns. Amanda's in a state of her own. She still cleans the inside of her face, though not as regularly. When she puts it back on, it's always crooked now. It is beginning to smell a little bit. I've tried to assure her that it wasn't her fault. He knew, I said. I told him that nobody was ever allowed to look at it. He knew, and he broke into the bathroom. This is not on you, baby. Please talk to me. Not on me? That one look at my fucking face makes people insane? Please. I just need some time alone. As for me, I'm still doing my best to hold it together. You know what's strange though? Despite what happened to Chris, I still find myself curious about what my wife's real face looks like. More curious than ever, really. And that's the end of that story. Uh-oh. Okay, that's all for tonight, listeners. Thank you very much for hanging around today. I hope those stories of couples scared you. It didn't have to be that way, but it just so happened to be couples, you see. We have a listener here that wants to say something. You catch up on the story via the VOD later. You hope my day has been going well. Thank you very much, listener. My day has been going rather decent. Very, very rather decent. Yes. Very decent indeed. Now, how are you gonna go to sleep now, listeners? Well, I believe you will be A-okay. Yes, everything will be fine. Now, I must go back to my own timeline. For you see, I am not the host you are used to. I am from yet a different dimension. They summoned me upon this realm to tell you these stories. I will be back next week, and we will be watching spooky things galore. Yes. Now then, one last thing, listeners, that your Toku wishes for me to tell you. Listen well, listeners. Today's knowledge of the day, today's word of the day, is, that's right, couples. Do with them as you will. And as always, until next time, goodbye.